I wanted to talk about um sort of a weird topic. It might be hard to understand, but it keeps coming up in my graduate courses, so I wanted to talk about it here. And that's really the question of how dependent we are on representation versus our mind slash logic slash rational thinking, because I'm in a a a geometry class, and for the first part of it, I've mentioned this before, we study Euclid, and then for the second part of it, we study Lobachevsky, which is hyperbolic geometry. And all hyperbolic geometry really is, to put it simply, I guess, is a type of curvy geometry. The Euclid is flat, but it you can construct like logically consistent geometries that are not flat. You can construct ones that are curvy. And what I mean by logically consistent is just that you can prove with logic based on a given set of assumptions or a rejection of certain assumptions that things work in a certain way. Um and so yeah, but the main question of like what is a line? Like, does a line actually exist in the world, or is it just some abstraction? What is a point? I mean, we we all, I think, intuitively kind of think we understand what those terms mean, but if say if I move my chair from where I am now and without deviating, like without turning even the slightest bit to the left or right, I mean, is that a line? I mean, it's not like I'm marking my path behind me, but is that a line? I mean, every point along that movement of mine in my chair, um, was like straight. It was continuous. So is that a line? Um, I mean, I would say yes, but actually no, because I mean, lines are kind of just like models for a thing which is useful to us, right? Like, it's like if I took my water bottle over there, um and most water bottles are cylinders, and if you cut a piece of a cylinder, or if you take a cross section of it, that's a circle. But I mean, if you do that with an actual water bottle, is that a circle though? Because I don't think you could ever get it thin enough to just take one section though. But yet, it's an abstraction which is useful, because those of you that know about higher level math know that, this is how we find the volume of solids around an axis, right? the volume of a cylinder around an axis, which is taking the integral of those circular cross sections, because the integral of a thing is a summation. So you're taking all of those little circular cross sections and adding them together to get one big thing, right? So, or the entirety of that cylinder, not one big thing. uh, so yeah. It's like what is just a model and what is real, right? And even talking about it is hard, right? Because you don't think about these things, you just know them, right? And it reminds me of the philosopher Ludwig Wittgenstein. He said the limits of our language are the limits of our world, and his entire philosophy was based around the fact that there were some things, or okay, I should say maybe his early philosophy was based around the fact that there are some things you just can't say that are beyond description, and it's so hard to say how much of our thinking is visual or how much of our thinking is just that thinking, abstraction, that it only exists in here. And particularly in hyperbolic geometry, um I it's really hard for me because Lobachevsky, which is the guy, was the original guy, the first one to publish this curvy geometry of his, has a rule where, you know, if a line within a plane um is extended far enough, it will, quote, break out of any extended region and more specifically cut it into two parts, um which, as far as I'm able to understand, is just him saying that there's depth to this world, but his formulation of that allows him to keep everything within two dimensions, even though it's really not, right? So this that rule of his is kind of just saying like, oh, okay, bear with me, cause this flat stuff is just a model. It's a useful way in which we can talk about my new curvy world. Even if that doesn't fit the representation of how our minds would see it, because we live in a 3D world. Anyway, those are my thoughts on that. Thank you very much.